I love a good parable. And recently, I've been thinking a lot about the parable of the monk and the scorpion. If you don't know it, it basically goes that these two monks are on a long pilgrimage. And they come across this river, and in the river is a scorpion that's drowning. The older, wiser monk goes in to scoop it up, to save it. And the younger monk yells, "I don't know why, don't do that, it's going to sting you." The older monk just smiles, and he still scoops it up. Sure enough, the scorpion stings him a whole bunch of times. The older monk scoops it up and puts it on land and saves the scorpion. And the younger monk, seeing all of this, asks, "Why would you do that? You knew it was going to sting you. You knew it was going to hurt." And the older monk says, "You see, it's in the scorpion's nature to sting me. And it's in my nature to help the scorpion." The reason I've been thinking about the story a lot recently is because like a lot of people, I've felt a sense of dread about the way the world's headed. And it's easy for that dread to turn into resentment. And in those moments, I like to remind myself of this story. Because if the misdeeds of others change your core nature, how core was it to begin with? How different are you really from the people that have betrayed you? This is also why I wanted to have Matt Flannery on. Matt is the founder of Kiva and of Branch. Matt is one of the most important people in the world of microfinancing. Matt has helped fund hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs for billions of dollars in the developing world. Matt's work, I don't think this is an exaggeration to say, Matt's work has uplifted entire communities of people around the world in so many different countries. But in this long 20-year journey, Matt has been betrayed by just about everyone you can imagine. His board that he hired and paid fired him from the company that he started. The people he was trying to help stole almost $10 million from him. But through all of this, Matt remained undeterred in his mission to help people. Matt is like that monk. I was so shocked by the openness and honesty with which he talked about these betrayals. And I was even more inspired by how much he didn't let those betrayals change him. I could not be more proud to have Matt Flannery on. And with that, I bring you Matt Flannery. From WeFunder's office on Mission Street in San Francisco, this is Warm Intro. Matt, thanks for being on the podcast, man. It's always weird to all of a sudden, because we were having a conversation, and to all of a sudden pause and be like, "Hey, thanks for being." It feels very artificial.
Yeah, let's get through it.
Dude, I'm gonna make a hard right all of a sudden.
Okay.
We're just talking about LaCroix cans.
Yeah.
Dude, tell me. So I'll start with my experience of your work, right? Which is that I was growing up, as I was telling you, I was growing up in India, and Kiva was talked about a lot.
It's amazing.
And I think maybe much more so. I don't even know how much you guys were aware of this, but it was what you all did, what you all have done. To me, it was like this, for a lot of young Indian people, that was the best possible type of enterprise. It was like, no, this is how the world will get saved. People really believe that.
Yeah.
And I was always curious about like the people that were running it, the people that started it, if they had any notion that this is how their work was being talked about. So I want to kind of pull this back to you. Tell me a little bit about the world that you grew up in, and tell me actually about what kind of kid you were.
Okay. This is so therapeutic. So I grew up in Gig Harbor, Washington, and Portland, Oregon, so the Pacific Northwest. My dad had grown up in India, ironically, and South Africa. Wow. And so, and he was always traveling all the time. And I think I grew up with fanciful notions of his life, both as a child and what he was doing then. And I was enamored by those stories of travel. And so that always made me want to see the world, travel the world, have adventures. What was I like as a kid? I think I was very much in my head. So sort of caught up in my own thoughts and philosophical thoughts. And, I grew up very religious. So
what flavor?
Yeah, I just grew up as a Protestant, I guess you'd say. Very devout evangelical family. And that led me to have a lot of big questions. So I'd always ask a lot of big philosophical questions. Yeah. I was
What,
very pensive, they would say.
dude? I was accused of being a very pensive child by other people, and I always, looking back, I'm not sure where it came from, but where do you think that came from for you? Why do you think you were so serious from such a young age?
Um, I think a lot of religion, I took it really seriously.
Yeah.
So I literally believed stuff literally at a very young age, things that adults would probably take with a grain of salt. And I stressed out about them and I couldn't sleep. I had insomnia and things like that, worrying about these big existential questions. Like the idea of living forever. I got obsessed and to a default about the idea of eternity, I think is first grade. Where I couldn't sleep for weeks, and I had to go to psychotherapist, and because the Bible says you're going to live forever, and so that is a very stress. If you really believe that is quite an overwhelming thought.
Dude, I can relate because I saw a children's cartoon in the second grade about the Big Bang, and I freaked out because I couldn't figure out what was before the Big Bang.
Yeah,
because I just couldn't imagine.
Really think it through. Yeah,
yeah, I just couldn't imagine something happening from nothing, and it kept me up at night.
Yeah,
so I can relate to that.
We should talk.
Yeah, I think I should go to your therapist.
Yeah, my first grade psychotherapist. Yes.
What were your parents like?
Great. My dad is incredibly generous, wonderful human. Back at that time, he was a lumber executive, so he's running big timber companies and traveling all the time. My mom is just like the most loving, warm person of all time that I've ever met.
Is that the work that took your dad to India and all these other places?
No, my dad grew up in India because his dad was an importer of American goods into Mumbai.
Wow.
And my grandma as well. They got married in Colombo, Sri Lanka.
Wow.
I have a lot of fun stories about that. But no, he ended up going to Harvard Business School and being timber industry executive. He's still alive, so I don't want to talk about it. He'll probably listen to this, and I'm just like, dude, I'm not talking about you as if you're,
I realized I kind of messed up the tense there. I know your parents are still alive.
Yeah, no, it's just I started talking about them like that. So.
Yeah. Well, tell me what you wanted to do at this point in your childhood. Your second, third grade. You're staying up all night thinking about eternity. Your dad's a lumber executive. What did you think you wanted to do with your life? Did you just assume you would do something like your dad did? You'd be a businessman? What were you thinking you were going to do?
I had no idea. I don't think I had a formulated idea. I used to call myself Farmer Matt and make everyone call me Farmer Matt. So maybe I wanted to be a farmer, but that was probably, I mean, we're talking first grade here.
Yeah. So,
I don't know if you really got your plan together at that point.
When did you get your plan together?
I did not get my plan together. So this could be in depth. I mean, I went to Stanford. I got my master's in philosophy. I got my undergraduate in symbolic systems. Did a lot of coding, software engineering. After college, I ended up being a software engineer in a cubicle in the South Bay.
By the way, one of the most depressing places in the world. A cubicle in the South Bay is up there with the prison cell in Alcatraz.
The cubes of the South Bay. That was my post-college experience, 4 years. It was like that movie Office Space, which is a very
greatest movie ever made.
A very important movie to me. I was trapped in that movie, and I was depressed about it.
Yeah. Tell me about give me actually like a play-by-play of how the very first concept of Kiva sort of pops into your head.
That's great. I love this, and I haven't really told this story in so long, and I probably almost never told it kind of from a really raw perspective because, for a long time I was the CEO of Kiva. So when you're CEO of a company, you got to give a really polished account of what happened. But of course, things in reality weren't that polished. The first idea of Kiva. So I think the year was 2003, 2004. I was living in Palo Alto. I was dating someone who ended up being my wife. Now she's my ex-wife. And I was having an idea of the day. So I was writing a journal of business ideas. So I still have hundreds of them. And I still do this all the time. It's sort of my way of expressing myself.
Do you hold on to the journals?
It's digital now. Back then it was paper, and I'm sure I have it somewhere. And usually they're jokes or just like little brainstorms I had during the day. For businesses, a lot of them are so stupid, but they're sometimes funny. And so my fiance declared the intention to move to Uganda to do volunteering at a church doing microfinance. And this was basically, she was going to do it right after we got married. So we're going to get married, and then she's going to move to Uganda, which sounds crazy. And I was doing this.
It is a little crazy.
Yeah. I was doing this idea the day. So she, she had her own ideas. Obviously, it's great. So, you could fast forward, passing through a lot of time here. But we get married, we move to San Francisco. A few months later, sure enough, she moves to Uganda.
Wait, see, you guys were, just understanding the logistics, you guys were engaged.
Yeah.
And while you were still engaged, she alone moved to Uganda.
No, she declared the intention.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or something like that, around that time.
Sure.
And then she left to go to Uganda to be an intern for this church-based microfinance institution. And I also decided to be an intern for that program as well. It was called the Village Enterprise Fund of Uganda, which was based out of the Bay Area. Awesome. So she goes, and of course I have a job, so I can take less time off. Had to pay the rent, coding Java, making the Comcast DVR. Thank you. It's just a great piece of technology. Just really hard to make.
That's what should have won the Nobel Prize.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, just running Java on that piece of hardware is
that alone is a Nobel Prize.
Back then, it was a really unpowerful box.
Yeah.
So we were trying to squeeze our software onto the Comcast technology. Then I take off to go to Uganda. So I was only in Uganda for about a month. In Kenya and Tanzania is my first time in Africa, volunteering for a microfinance institution. Actually, right before I left, I had the idea for Kiva, just to answer your question literally, because I was talking to her on the phone. It was right around here in the Mission. I lived here. I was talking to her on the phone, so I'd go out with my friends. We're in our 20s. Come home. I'd call her on my flip phone. I was talking to her on my flip phone, and I had the idea for Kiva. That's actually how it happened.
Why do you think, because you were coming up with ideas at a very rapid clip, right? You're coming literally an idea a day, sometimes more.
Totally, yeah.
Why do you think this one stuck in your brain?
Yeah. The main reason is because we could do it. We could do it under our own power. So I had no confidence to try to raise money. I didn't really have the idea of fundraising or venture capital. I was, very much a quiet person, serious person, never gave a presentation in my life, really. So my job was just coder. But we could make Kiva without much help for free. And so I had the idea, wrote it down, basically because I was hearing all these stories about businesses, and I thought that was really cool. I was a person, I think at that time I had decided I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So I'd heard all these entrepreneurial stories in Uganda from her over the phone. So this is like at midnight in San Francisco, it'd be the morning there. You'd hear a rooster in the background. And then she's like telling me, I met this pharmacy person that needs to buy more medical supplies or whatever, and they just need $300 and stories like that. Or, she's surveying people around their standard of living and then how transformational a business would be. And I had grown up sponsoring kids in Africa or South America. So in my church, I had always, been paying $9 a month or something to a brother, quote unquote, in like Guatemala or something like that. Yeah. So I thought this would be a good way to sponsor a business instead of sponsoring a child. So that was basically the whole idea. These ideas were like one-liners. So the idea was like sponsor a business instead of sponsoring a child. That was the entry of that day.
How much had you seen of the rest of the world at this point? Because I know your dad, of course, grew up in these other parts of the world, and you always wanted to, but how much had you actually been able to get out?
Well, I spent a lot of time in France. I spent a year in France studying during college. Um, and I had been to Israel, various vacations all over the world, but never the developing world, really.
And so there's actually, to me, something very powerful about thinking of people that you'd never met before. Um, do you think if you weren't raised religious, that would have happened? Do you think you would have been able to come up with Kiva, or do you think you would have come up with Kiva if you weren't raised the way you were?
Definitely not. No, the whole context is being a very religious person. The whole context, like, why were we going to Uganda in the first place? Like, to volunteer. Why am I quitting my job? The whole context was being part of a church, growing up in the church, wanting to do that. So my sister works for World Vision at this point. So we're talking to her. You know, she's a development executive. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
How different? At the top of this episode, I will have told people what Kiva is. But the very first version of it, was it already the Kiva that we know now? Or what was the first original idea?
It was pretty different. You can see that on the Wayback Machine. So the first version, so I wasn't in Uganda. A few weeks later, after having that idea, I went to Uganda and then had a lot of free time during nights. So on my laptop, started making the Kiva website. And it was basically just like listings of businesses with big pictures and the ability to invest in them and then get paid back. At that time, it was with interest. So that was a major shift. We had to take the profit motive out of it.
How well do you know the Bible?
How well do I know the Bible? I don't know. Not that great.
Well, I bet you know it better than I do.
The concepts maybe, but I'm sorry if you're asking me to quote verses.
Oh, no. I would. Yeah. If you could literally make anything up about the Bible, and I would. You could fool me.
That's great.
But do you think that there are parts of the Bible or specific teachings of the Bible that really show up in how you think about Kiva? Because, I mean, I can think of a couple of ideas, but I want to sort of hear from you about this.
Well, obviously, the concepts of compassion and caring for the less fortunate and lowering yourself as a servant of others. I mean, that was the basic premise. But I think at that point, I maybe had become a little jaded by the idea of donating and child sponsorship and things like that, having my life experiences, and got really excited about flipping that narrative into a business narrative and a dignified partnership. So I think that's also a biblical concept, is treating others with respect. And so taking the gesture of investing in a small business in rural Africa seemed to me a gesture of respect.
That's, for what it's worth, that's how I heard it in the developing world. Yeah. I can't, I was very fortunate the way that I grew up, but to me, you remember that phrase that George W. Bush had, the soft bigotry of low expectations?
Sounds familiar.
Whatever you think of the man, that's a great phrase.
Yeah.
I think about that a lot, and I think that there is a soft bigotry of low expectations when you just donate, and you are respecting people for the wholeness of their individual person, right? When you understand them to be people with ambition and people with drive, people with resourcefulness, people who are, if given the opportunity, will invest in their own community. Yeah. So to me, I always loved that part of it. I still love that part of it.
Yeah. I think that was the main thing, though, is the whole thing is reframing the aid conversation around business. And so I was excited to do that.
What did it feel like going from cubicle in the South Bay to running your own thing slightly north of South Bay?
Yeah, headed north. Yeah.
How did that feel, man, to be out doing your own thing?
No, I think that was one of the best days of my life. So on the way here, I walked most of the way. I was thinking about that because I was thinking we were going to talk about this story. I kept working at this company for, I don't know, a year and a half after that.
While starting Kiva in parallel?
After the Kiva website was started, and I was working on that project. I kept working on it in nights and weekends in this neighborhood, actually usually at nights. So there's a lot of taquerias open in the Mission. Mm-hmm. And so I would work at those random taquerias that are the only places open until 2 a.m.
Do you remember which ones?
I know where they were, but I forget their names. They're not the famous. It's not like
Oh, sure.
Taqueria Cancun or El Matate, but these are just like probably El Faro.
Yeah.
Happy Donut was a huge hub for us, so that's also open really late. So I'd work at Happy Donut, and I would stay up most of the night for months coding that thing because it got kind of complicated. It was in PHP, and I had no version control. And this is the first web app I'd ever made. And during the day, I was doing a completely different type of programming. And like the shit was breaking, and I was just. But I had so much energy to do it. I had more energy at that time in my life than I probably ever had for like sustained for months. Like just the joy of building something and then seeing people use it is such a magical experience. But why am I railing about this? So I had this job, and then I go and drive down to the South Bay to Alviso, California.
Yeah.
And that was like an hour. And I was coding up the Comcast DVR. And one day I was doing all the customer service too. There's a lot of emails. I'm taking money, PayPal money. You know, at this point, the site brings in hundreds of dollars a day. Like not brings in to send to Africa. Yeah. And then pretty much overnight, the biggest blog in the world in Slashdot wrote about Kiva. And pretty much overnight, we had thousands of users. Went from hundreds to thousands. And that day, I just told my boss, engineering manager, a lot like Office Space, actually. I just told him I'm quitting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you destroy the printer?
Yeah, sort of. And then I just remember leaving and walking along Arrastradero Preserve for some reason. That's where I went. The foothills around Palo Alto, and just being like, it's the middle of the day and I'm hiking. Yeah. Yeah, and just that freedom, and ever since that day, I've sort of felt free of a job, which has been amazing. Yeah. I escaped my cubicle.
I want to. So I think what you're describing is something I think a lot of entrepreneurs will be able to relate to. A couple of phases that I really want to call out, especially to anyone that's listening that maybe is thinking about starting something and hasn't done it. Those early months before it's enough of a product that people can really start using it, and it's just your ideas and your code or your laptop at Happy Donut. Yeah. It's maybe the most magical period of anyone's professional life.
It is.
It is intoxicating, man.
Yeah, we'll never get that feeling again. Yeah.
All you want to do is work.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful...
The feedback you get.
Exactly.
It's the constant feedback you get, positive feedback. Then you make a change in the sense of power, how that impacted thousands of people. I just pushed this code live. And just the thrill of that is inescapable. And it also just felt like everything I cared about was coming together. Yeah. I had this moment of just like, I don't know, complete alignment of purpose and of what I was doing. And I felt like this is right. This is the first time in my life I know what I'm doing. I know the first time in my life I know where I'm going. Yeah. Yeah. My life makes sense. It's just driving to a cubicle and working there 8 hours for me was like really, really depressing. Yeah. I was so depressed. Yeah.
Dude, I think you nailed it. That's its purpose, I think, really is what it is, where when you feel it, after you felt it in those early days, it's really, really, really hard to go back to it. And I think it is, you start to realize, not to make this too big of a commentary on the world, because I'm not smart enough to do that, but I really, you start to realize how kind of starved the world is for true purpose. And really, I remember those early days of the company. It was unlike anything I'd ever felt before. It was as if there was a flavor I had never tasted before. But anyway, so you go through that, and then of course, then all of a sudden there's that moment when it becomes a real thing. And for you, that's of course when you quit Comcast, and now all of a sudden you're there. Do you remember? And then there's another, I think, really seminal moment, which is when it feels like it's going very poorly. Do you remember? Did you have nightmares about Kiva failing in those early days? Once after it becomes a real thing, and now you're doing it full time.
Let's see. Yes, 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Did I have nightmares? I'm trying to remember what I was worried about at that time. I think it was mostly, I I was bad at coding, and like the shit was crashing. So it was just like after that initial press, I think it was like a year of the site crashing, and then me cobbling together with random people that would try to help me. My friend Jeremy, moved here from New York, and his wife Fiona. They like drove across the country, and they were living on my couch. These are a married couple with no money, and they're just because they're just working for free, living on my couch. And he eventually got an apartment. Jeremy and Fiona eventually got an apartment in the Mission. And I remember one day I left my house. I told my wife I had to go work with Jeremy, and I didn't come back for 5 days. I just remember. I remember I came back 5 days later, and I probably never talked to my wife the whole time. And
oh my god,
we're not texting, flip phones. Just trying to keep the website up. And I really did not know how to scale anything.
Were you afraid? Were you running on fear at the time?
Was I running on fear? I think it was pretty terrible. I think it was a bad feeling. It's hard to remember how bad it felt, but just being under a gun that you can't escape from. And if you go to sleep and you'll wake up under that pressure. Just because like people's money is at stake. People can't believe you can't keep the site up. Incompetence is terrible. There was also another real bad crisis right after that I just remembered. I remember what I was really worried about.
You do want to? Are you okay sharing?
Keeping the site up eventually worked. I mean, this is before AWS. We had I forget the name of the hosting company, but just like the hosting company hated us. The software was so bad. It would call the homepage of Kiva would call the database like 300 times through some like for loop that was like poorly written. There was no like model view container. It was just like one page that just called the database 800 times. And so someone told me like we had this like SWAT team of Silicon Valley entrepreneurs, like great engineers, and they were just like started over because no computer, like no cluster, no NVIDIA cluster could keep our website going. Just it was so poorly written. It would just crash if you sent it live. And then we were like on Oprah, and just keeping the site up was.
You're on Oprah's favorite things, right?
I think so. I was on the show Oprah.
Oh my god! What's Oprah like?
What's Oprah like? I mean, I was on the show for an hour, so I don't know what she's like.
Really?
But I remember she was quite distracted, more distracted than I thought, and I remember being surprised by how much editing they did to make the interview look good. And it was juxtaposed against Bill Clinton, who was also on the show with us.
On the same episode
the same show? No, because he wrote about Kiva. And so we were on it, and they were interviewing us, and Bill Clinton was so present. He just seemed incredibly present, incredibly thoughtful. He knew a lot about me, which is wild. When the president starts pulling up tidbits of your life, and you're like, I can't believe you said that. That's insane. That you said that. And he's not reading. He's just looking me in the eye and like telling me like, oh, you worked at World Vision or, stuff like that.
That was a good impression.
I cannot believe you said that. But Oprah was fairly in and out, let's just say.
Okay, see, this is a problem now because I can talk about Bill Clinton for truly an impossible amount of time.
Really? It's great.
I'm fascinated.
I mean, just meeting him was amazing. I think he's the most amazing person I've ever met in terms of their presence. Yeah.
Because
I wasn't expecting it. I didn't have like some big impression of Bill Clinton, but like shaking his hand and talking to him for 5 minutes was incredible.
Have you, I won't repeat it here, but I'll send it to you afterwards. Have you seen the John Mulaney bit about Bill Clinton?
No.
It's based, I mean, I'll ruin it for you a little bit, but the crux of it is Bill Clinton's running, John Mulaney's a kid. His mom went to school with Bill Clinton and wants to go see him. And before she goes, John Mulaney's dad, who's more conservative, is in love with this idea and just says, oh, it's not like he's going to remember you. And she shows up and she walks in. And this is, probably 20, 30 years later. And first thing across the room, he goes, oh, hey, Ellen.
There's a lot of stories like that. Like, of him just walking by someone and saying their name. It's just wild.
Dude, he, my favorite, I have a lot of favorite Bill Clinton moments. I'm not even saying I like the guy. I'm just saying he is impossible to look away from. He's one of the most interesting people that's ever been
Yeah, it's
president.
incredible. Yeah.
But my favorite moment, which is probably the most talked about moment with him, right? One of the most talked about moments, is that debate that he does with Ross Perot and Bush Sr., right?
Nice.
And this woman gets up. Do you know the moment I'm talking about?
No, I don't know Bill Clinton moments.
This is my favorite one. We'll get off of Bill Clinton in a second. But this woman gets up, and it's like a town hall style debate, right? And this woman goes, I would like to ask how the national debt has affected you personally. And famously, while she's asking this, the president, Bush Sr., while she's asking, looks at his watch. And this became a big controversy that he didn't have time for this woman. But he answers it like you would expect somebody that's been in politics forever to answer it. Bush Sr. does.
Yeah.
He goes, I don't, well, I have grandkids and I worry about them, and that's national debt.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, but how has it affected you personally? And you can see that he's getting a little annoyed. And he doesn't really know what to say. And then, and so he kind of just sits down, not really able to answer. He's like, what do you mean it's affecting me personally? Bill Clinton, being the guy that he is, has picked up on the fact that this woman's saying national debt. She doesn't mean national debt. She's talking about the national debt crisis, the national crisis of people having a lot of debt.
Right, consumer debt, yeah.
Of consumer debt. And Bill Clinton springs out of his chair and he walks up to this woman, right? And it's a heavy contrast to the president looking at his watch. He walks up to this woman and he goes, let me ask you a question. How has the national debt affected you? and you see this woman kind of be like, oh my God. And that is just one of a billion magical Bill Clinton moments.
Yeah.
He just has this kind of sense for people.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's so focused and so present. I mean, I think the ability to be fully present in a conversation takes work.
Yeah.
He seems to be good at that. I'm going to go home and watch. I'm going to look up best Bill Clinton moments.
I bet
there's a lot.
I think I have a few stored. I'll send them to you.
Yeah.
But let's bring this back to you. So you, at this point, Kiva gets covered on the blog. You've quit your job at Comcast. Kiva is now a proper functioning enterprise, right? You're on Oprah. That brings in even more volume. At this point, what was your sort of sense of your career in Kiva? Did you think that you were going to be doing this for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
Did you think
100%?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was the intersection of my purpose and what I was thought to be good at. Yeah. It was everything. Yeah. It was my whole identity.
Man, that's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that when things weren't working, I mean, just going back to what we were talking about a second ago, it probably, I almost don't want to imagine how bad it must have felt when things weren't working out, because it must have felt like not only are you letting yourself down, you're letting down these small businesses in Uganda, and you're letting down these lenders in Idaho or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so I can imagine that must have been very painful. Warm Intro is brought to you by WeFunder. WeFunder created this thing called the Community Round that lets you raise money directly from your community. So instead of going to VCs and rich people, angel investors, you can go straight to your friends and your family and your customers. And, this is not a traditional ad read. I used WeFunder for my company 3 times. We ran 3 rounds in WeFunder. We raised over $1 million. And I found that it completely changed how everybody felt about our business. Our customers all of a sudden didn't feel like they were just customers. They felt like they were owners in the business. They shopped with us more. They told their friends about us. My team felt like what we were doing was important because our community had shown up to invest in us. I tell every founder I can find to go raise a WeFunder round. Especially for companies that care about community, there is nothing greater you can do than letting that community invest. Go to wefunder.com/join to check it out.
Yeah, I think probably the worst one, there's a few crises of Kiva. There's a series of gates, we called them, like Watergate, but we call it like Funding Gate or Website Gate or whatever. So we had this list of crises. I was CEO there for 10 years. So in my years there's probably like 4 or 5 like major crises. Probably the biggest one was right in that time, realizing that a lot of the money had been stolen. And so,
oh my God,
trying to get it back. which is tricky.
Have you talked about this before?
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote a paper about it. Well, no one reads this shit, but yeah, I think it would be a good movie. This part would be, if someone made a movie about this like year, it would be a really dramatic movie.
Can you share how much money it was?
Sure. Oh, okay. All right. So the project was, as I described, little grassroots project with a church in Uganda, then another church in Kenya, then another church in Tanzania, then this one small nonprofit in Ghana, then this something like that in Nigeria. So every country, we were slowly signing up some grassroots project. And the idea was use the Kiva website, you have beneficiaries, post up pictures and stories about your beneficiaries, ask for a certain amount of money, take a loan at 0% interest, and as they pay back with interest, you remit the principal back to the website and pay you back.
Yeah.
So that was the concept. By the time you were rushing to get more projects on the website, because we were probably raising millions of dollars a month, and dispersing that $300 at a time.
Wow.
Takes a long time. So let's see, how did it all come down? I think, okay, so you send money somewhere and it's supposed to be paid back in 12 months. I'm going to the bank, Wells Fargo, like literally it's an arcane process, filling out a form, sending dollars to a bank in Uganda, in rural Uganda. The pastor of the church would go to that bank, take it out, disperse it, $300 at a time to like 20, 100, 200 businesses in Soroti, Uganda, or Dodoma, Tanzania. And then, of course, it'll get paid back. Like microfinance must work. But we had sent so much money so fast to people we had never met. And a lot of those people in the middle stole the money. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So how much money was it? It was millions of dollars, maybe $8 million. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. I really got myself into a jam. Yeah, so that was like these memories. These memories are blocked out. So
sorry to
no. Just remembering the story. It's like, oh, that crisis, but then there was that other one that was really bad. That was bad. Yeah,
dude. We should do an episode just about Kiva crises. What was the moment that you realized that the money had been stolen?
I'm trying to remember how it unfolded. So there is stages of grief, I guess. It's you are an optimistic person and you don't want to admit the worst has happened. Yeah. So you start to worry about it. Then you start to get more worried and you start to email more people. You call more people, stay up really late, call them on the phone. This pastor you're talking to in Tanzania, this guy in Ghana, in the rural Ghana, what's going on? This woman in the Maasai territory in rural Kenya dies. The people are dying. Some people died. The money's not coming back. I had sent a fleet of management consultants to the developing world. So at the same time, this period, we have this outpouring of support and volunteer energy.
This is after Oprah?
Yeah. And so we had a partnership with a consulting firm, Mercer Management Consulting. Great firm, no longer exists. And so we have all these, 20-something consultants taking time off. Yeah. And we're sending them to be field partners and go out in the field and live where the projects are and help the projects, help them do a lot with the IT side of things, because there's not necessarily good internet. There's not necessarily people that know how to remit money on the internet and use technology in that way in the projects we're working with. So we'd sent these Americans out there, and one of them was living with one of them, Shelby Clark, who went on to found Turo, who's an amazing guy, was living in rural Uganda and uncovered a massive fraud, which was sort of like the moment that I admitted to myself that a lot of this was fraud. So I think the moment that he had discovered that everyone had fake names around him, he didn't know the true identities of anyone he was working with. There was no accounting for anything. So like him telling us that, and then him feeling in danger, was the moment I realized like this is real. Like if I have suspicions about a lot of things, all those suspicions are real. Like I've lost millions of dollars. Yeah.
Oh my God, man. Wow. I think this is the first time in the however many episodes we've done that I've genuinely started to feel anxious.
Yeah. No, the dread I felt during that
dread
period.
is the word.
Yeah. So the utter dread. So, this story could be long or short, but talking to those people, there was like 8 of them, 8 projects, millions of dollars. I'm not sure exactly how much. And talking to them one at a time, and like realizing they were lying, or they were promising to send money back, but they never were going to. Coming to that, admitting that to myself. Yeah, I remember once I was on a cruise. This is just one of the moments you remember of like the horrible moments of your life. I remember I was on a cruise, which I hate cruises.
Cruises are the worst.
Cruises are the worst. It's my least favorite thing in the world. I was on a cruise in Hawaii with my wife, who's no longer my wife. She wasn't my wife long after this. Let's just say that she was soon to be not my wife.
Yeah.
It was a very short marriage. And this was all part of that, wrapped up in that horrible period. But I just remember I was with her family on a cruise, and I was using a satellite phone. I think it was like, must have been like $12 a minute. And the phone is like,
oh my God,
the size of, a guitar. It's massive. And talking to, this one guy who ran this microfinance project because his wife died just suddenly, just then. And so then I was talking to the husband of the woman I knew, who suddenly died, and, just asking him to send the money back, and he wouldn't. I mean, obviously he did not. It was stolen. And just realizing this was not just an isolated incident. This had happened all over, basically to every project I'd sent money to.
Oof. Man, I guess I'll just say I'm sorry you went through that.
It was 20 years ago.
That's still
I'm glad it happened.
hard, man.
Yeah, no, and it ended really well.
Yeah, it did. Well,
the story ended well. Yeah.
I want to pivot to
everything I was worried about did not materialize.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
How so? How did it work out?
How did it work out? So, first of all, there was a couple-year period of trying to get the money back.
Yeah.
So Shelby and I ended up working together a lot, going to a few of these projects and gathering a team of forensic accountants, gathering a team of lawyers, doing like fully analyzing the situation. I felt like I owed that to everyone involved, like a full accounting of all this money, documenting it, getting the principals, surprising people in random places in Africa, interrogating them.
Were you going in person?
Yeah, me and Shelby. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so this would be a good movie.
Yeah.
And us trying to run our own like kangaroo court process.
Trying to get $8 million back
like
from miscellaneous.
Elder Africans who generally were in their 50s, generally religious, confronting them as 20-something white guys and trying to get the money back. It was just a comedy. Like, first of all, no one on the other side cared. Like, they weren't intimidated by us. We weren't intimidating. We weren't trying to be intimidating. We were nice. But we were just... they were laughing at us for trying to sue them. So we took them to court, and we had these court cases in like capital cities in Africa, running these court cases. It just never worked. Just no one cares.
Yeah.
You're not getting the money back. There's no contracts. So like the crime I was accusing of them wasn't necessarily even a crime, because I just sent them a lot of money and asked for it back, but it was informal. Yeah. Yeah. So I think, then there was like the second dread of just years of realizing you are not getting the money back was also a good lesson. Like, once someone steals money from you, almost in every case, you're not getting that money back. It's a good lesson. Summarize it that way.
But how did it work out at the end?
How did it work out at the end? So we were here. I'm super locational based, so we're in this part of the mission, San Francisco. We had a warehouse office on 18th and 20th and Bryant. I always remember where I was when something happened.
Yeah.
And we just announced it. So we announced that we had lost millions of dollars, I forget exactly the amount, to the entire user base over email and a blog entry. And we were really ready for this day. So we had prepared for this day for months. And then we also announced on that very day that we have covered your losses. So we had, this is in the period where we became quite famous. Money was pouring in. I can tell you why money was pouring in, which is a different story.
Yeah.
But millions of dollars was also pouring into us as a donation to help us. And we used that money that was generously donated by our users to essentially cover the fraud.
Wow.
And we just documented, we were full transparency. You can read a report about it. Here's where every cent went. Here's what we did wrong. Here's how we're not doing this again. Congrats, you've lost no money. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, way more of this became about the challenges you went through than I was initially intending. I want to ask you on that last point that you said that you had so much money sent to you generously. Why do you think Kiva worked? Why do you think it worked so well at this massive scale?
It's really hard to imagine. So first of all, the amount of money coming into us was because the website was so bad, it was crashing.
Yeah.
And every time it crashed, there was the whole screen was a PayPal link that says donate to get our servers back. And that link generated millions of dollars in random donations with no tax receipts from all over the internet. Yeah. So we just realized our users were so supportive. It was amazing. We had this energy behind us that even if we lost millions of dollars, it would still work. We had just had this love almost like carrying us forward. And it was a group of like 5 employees. And those 5 employees were Jeremy and Fiona, me, Premel, Chelsea, my friend from high school. That was basically it. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was fun. Imagine us in our 20s working in the mission, eating burritos and drinking and coding all the time.
Do you remember the main sort of criticisms of Kiva that were out there in the world when you guys were, at your peak?
Yeah, you'd have that. You skipped several crises, but yes, that one is the least of my worries. But there is the New York Times, your money doesn't go where it seems, crisis. You could call that the donor illusion gate, I think is how we call it.
There's something beautiful about putting gate after every crisis.
I still do this. In my new company, we have several gates. Donor illusion gate. It's just because you have these sagas that last months, and then you have to name them. And naming them almost feels a little relieving when it's a distance from you. We had the donor illusion gate, which is a blogger, David Rudman, wrote a piece that your money doesn't necessarily go where it seems. Because at this point, instead of Pastor Moses and all these pastors getting the money from the bank and giving it directly to a pharmacy or a business, we ended up partnering with real institutions that could absorb millions of dollars, who would then give it to their micro borrowers. But it was also money is fungible, so these companies had bigger budgets. World Vision Kenya or something like that. Save the Children Tanzania. Worked with all these bigger aid organizations, and so the money was less directly tied to the borrower. And in fact, the borrower got the money before the website sent them the money. So they would post up the story, fund the borrower, wait for it to be backfilled. And so the timing mismatch, like the borrower is not literally waiting for the money anymore. I didn't think that was a scandal. It was all documented on our website, but the New York Times picked it up, and that was a big, I would say, fall from grace, or our brand is no longer as perfect, or our first experience of criticism.
I can relate to parts of how you describe yourself as a child. I'll make this about myself, but I'm curious if any of this relates to you.
I want to interview you.
No, nobody wants to listen to that. But I remember when I was my company started to get some press.
Nice.
We would get some negative press, and it was fine. I never cared too much about it. I remember the first time Forbes wrote about me. The first word was hubris ? 24-year-old wants to do X and Y.
Yeah,
and I remember I just laughed at that, because hubris was not anything anyone, because the criticism that is close to your heart is the one that, or maybe the one that you think there's a little bit of truth in is the one that actually sticks with you.
Sure.
The stuff that, you can call me a lot of things, but to me, it just made no sense to me. It just wasn't sort of in my world.
Doesn't hit home. Doesn't really pierce you. It's just so ridiculous. Yeah.
Exactly. And so hubris was not my problem. But then I remember when I found that I don't know how else to put this other than my need to feel like a good boy, right? Was like that I was doing good in the world and that I was a good person. And I remember anytime we would get a criticism around that, and we've never got so big that the New York Times would write something like that about us, but it would be in comments and stuff. People would think that what we were doing wasn't good for the world at some level. And I remember that stuff would keep me up at night, and it would really, really, really sort of bother me.
Yeah.
And it was through that I learned that it was very important for me. I think it is for everyone, but I thought maybe disproportionately important for me to feel like a good boy that I was. And I think it's part of my religious upbringing too. But to feel like, no, you can call me whatever you want, but what no one can take away from me is that I am morally sound, that I'm on the right path.
Yeah.
Was there any criticism that you got in that period that actually stung? Not just at the level of like, oh, this will hurt the work, but on the level of like, no, I feel like maybe there's some truth to this.
Yeah. Compared to, my coworkers like Premel, I was not really that affected personally by negative PR.
Yeah.
I was pretty fine with it and I could move on just fine. I think the things that really haunt me was being a bad CEO or a bad boss. So I went from, coding, never presenting anything, never leading anything, to leading this team, hundreds of people, a lot of people around the world. And I think I developed a super thin skin for criticism from my own employees. That was the hardest thing for me to absorb. You have a 360, whatever. Of course, I'm bad at this job. And then you're in San Francisco with a lot of people that, have high expectations of a startup CEO, whatever. And I'm not giving visionary speeches a lot, sort of keeping to myself. Yeah, and so getting criticism from your employees, that is the thing that I couldn't handle. That would keep me up for weeks or days. If I had an incident like that, I think it would cause days of anxiety.
Wow. Does that still happen?
No. But also our situation is I found it a lot easier to run a for-profit. What I realized was I was running this chaotic, growing nonprofit in downtown San Francisco with a lot of employees who have a lot of issues themselves. I just didn't realize how hard of a management job that was. Looking back at it, now I'm a startup CEO of a startup with 500 employees, and it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I have very little drama.
So I wanted to linger on this for a second. So I haven't done I haven't been involved in a nonprofit at the level that you were, but I don't think I should name them. They're very well known, but I was on the board of, I think I need to take this off my LinkedIn before this episode goes live, but I was on the board of a very large international nonprofit for a while.
Amazing.
And, man, it really pissed me off. I really, and it made me so happy to be at it. And it really sort of filled me with this, I don't want to say that this is like an intellectual, I haven't thought this through, but just a strong feeling that if I really want to move something in the world, it has to be through a for-profit enterprise.
Sure.
Have you, tell me about, I mean, if you're willing to go to, otherwise we can cut this out too. Tell me about leaving Kiva.
Yeah.
Okay? And then we can sort of segue that into talking about starting Branch.
Yeah, that was a whole nother gate. That was one of the worst ones, for sure.
Wait, what gate did you name it? Exit gate?
Oh, God. I think it was called Flannery by my friends, because I had lots of friends at Kiva, and they were very helpful during this process. But let's see, I had been the CEO for 10 years. I don't think I'm naturally a born CEO. I'm more of a founder type. Big ideas, a lot of ideas, the day to day, introverted. So I'm not necessarily thinking I was the best at my job. I had gotten really sidetracked by mobile lending. This is really what happened. But just remembering how did it work out. So I got really sidetracked with mobile lending. Actually, a lot of the folks at WeFunder were helping me, and we were interested in making the first purely digital loans, maybe in the world, but certainly in Africa. So we changed the Kiva model to go directly to people and lend directly to them on their phones. And these are flip phones, and they would end up in their M-Pesa wallet in Kenya, like digital wallet. So I had been really obsessed with this project, which was going nowhere.
Yeah.
And not generating any revenue when the CEO of Kiva should be fundraising all the time. Right.
Yeah.
So there was my personality getting into new ideas, and then there was the needs of the company needing to fundraise. And our board was a bunch of Silicon Valley VCs and entrepreneurs who are all 10 to 20 years older than me. And I just thought they knew what they're talking about a lot. But I think after 10 years, I got a little rebellious and I started criticizing them.
Yeah.
And they weren't donating. In fact, we were paying them. So I looked up one day, I think I had this like radicalizing moment where I just like, who are these older people that I'm paying that are telling me what to do? And I started just to resent them. And I think I lashed out and
in a board meeting or public?
Yeah. I think I lashed out a lot.
Yeah.
And eventually I was fired. And so that was a very sudden, disturbing situation.
Do you remember the moment you were told that you've been fired?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
On a cruise in Hawaii?
Oh, deeply, deeply, deeply painful. This is one of the two most painful moments in my life, for sure.
Did you get a phone call from the chairman?
No. Do you want the story?
If you're willing to share.
Sure. So Premal, my lifelong business partner, and I always met with our board chair like on a Tuesday once a month or something. So we did this every month. And I was paranoid about being fired because I knew that I was acting out and I knew that the company wasn't doing that well. And it was just sort of my worst fear of getting fired. And so he would joke with me. And so we're on the way to this meeting and he's like, this is it. This is when you're going to get fired, dude. And it's just like picture two best friends joking about that. And then the meeting address changed. So it changed to the LinkedIn office building in San Francisco because Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, was on our board. He wasn't the person we were paying, but the rest of the board members. And yeah, I show up, the security guard separates us, takes me into a separate room, and there's my board chair and another board member. And I remember she just said, Matt, this is going to be difficult. And I don't remember a lot after that moment. I don't remember a lot. Yeah.
How long did it take you to recover?
Recover.
Have you recovered?
I don't know. I was by myself in San Francisco. So they separated me from Premal. It was like 1 p.m. and I remember just walking around San Francisco in a daze. And I went to some Irish pub and I just started drinking. And I called my family and they came and got me. And I just remember like the next few days were like a blur of them taking care of me. Super painful. I was just about to be married. So I've now been married 11 years. My wife is amazing. And yeah, they took care of me.
When you think about that story, this was 2013, right?
That was 2014. 14. Yeah.
So 11 years.
And I got married in 2014. So right after that, a month later, hey, yeah.
I do like how the story of your career overlaps with the story of you getting married, and divorce, and then getting married.
You always get married and then start a company. That's what you do. That's a great pattern,
dude. But when you think about this now, are you filled with? Are you able to just describe it like Tom Brokaw, just like this is what happened? Does it fill you with rage? Does it fill you with regret? How do you feel about
getting fired?
Yeah.
I think I have a lot of resentment for those people. Like, I don't think it was justified. I think, there's been 4 Kiva CEOs since. And I just think all good people, you put 5 people together that have no skin in the game. I think the nonprofit structure is problematic because the board members don't have skin in the game. They often have their own reasons for doing, whether vanity or
Yes.
sense of impact or sense of meaning. And you're providing them some sense of meaning, and that can be very fickle, especially if there's no hard financial sort of metrics tied to it. And if it's just people's opinions, and you put 5 people in a room, eventually they convince themselves to do something crazy. None of them will own the decision. So it's sort of like groupthink can lead to, I don't know, crazy decisions.
And how do you feel now about when you look back at the work that you did at Kiva? Are you mostly proud? Do you mostly have a feeling of, I wish I'd done more? How do you think about your 10-year period at Kiva?
I think it was amazing. I mean, I'm proud. I think I'm so proud of it. I think it was an amazing experience with that group of people, the true like Kiva founding team, the 5 or 6 ragtag people that joined. Those will just be friends for life. Those some of the best times of my life for sure. I think if I went wrong in any way, it was listening to, and I think entrepreneurs always say this, listening to Silicon Valley executives, being convinced to do things in a professional way, running it more like a business instead of a passion. I think if you look back, there was a sort of a FP&A-ification spreadsheet philosophy, especially tied to the PayPal mafia and the eBay mafia and Silicon Valley at the time in the early 2000s. I think there was big emphasis on web metrics and the Web 3.0 playbook and the funnel and thinking of your website like a product, which I just fundamentally, if I had to go over, just avoid that line of thinking at a nonprofit, especially. Avoid the line of thinking that it is a consumer experience, because that overall dominating philosophy just led us on the wrong track that eventually led to this happening. Yeah.
How did that experience lead to Branch?
Well, Branch is essentially that project I was doing. So that side project, it basically, I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to do that side project. So,
how many months after roaming around San Francisco and going to the Irish pub? To now you're working on Branch?
6 months. So
dude, that's insane. That's amazing.
Far too short. Yeah, probably less actually. Honestly,
that's.
Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do? I'm by myself in San Francisco. Yeah, so I mean, 6 months is a long time to do nothing.
Yeah,
sitting there.
Okay.
I watched the World Cup. I remember that was the year the World Cup was on TV. I watched every World Cup game, and then right after that, I did Branch.
So you said that side project that was distracting you at Kiva, became Branch.
It is that side project.
Is it still that? How close is it now to its sort of original vision?
Really close. So I hired a lot of the people from Kiva that were on that side project. And we started making the Branch website. I was just coding it myself. Basically the same playbook as Kiva. It's okay now, it's just me. I know how to code. Let's try to lend to someone in Kenya. And so I literally started doing it months after being fired just by myself using like Bitcoin actually. So at this point I was buying thousands and thousands of dollars worth of Bitcoin, which if I had just bought the Bitcoin and never sold it, I'd be very wealthy. Versus starting this company. I bought thousands of Bitcoins. But they were like $100 or something.
What would it be worth today? I don't even know. I'm not a crypto.
I mean, one Bitcoin is worth $100,000 now. Back then it was $100, and I bought thousands of them to send to Africa. Yeah. So I was buying these Bitcoins with some spare money.
You could have been Oprah by now.
I could have been more rich than Oprah. Yeah, if I just didn't start the stupid cell phone lending project and just kept the Bitcoin. Right. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to distract the Oprah.
No, it is funny. It's a very dark realization. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is. That there's like a dark humor to them.
Yeah. But it's not about making money. So,
But I think Branch is. Well, first of all, you raised VC for it. Andreessen, a couple other great folks.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to do that?
I mean, I don't know what I was doing. I was doing the side project. So some of the big changes are we moved to using smartphones. Smartphones were taking off in Kenya. So we made it an app. So I learned to make an app, and I had a couple friends doing this with me. And then we're sending the Bitcoin to the people that we approve for loans over the phone. So in Kenya, people I'd never met, just using advertising on Google Play advertising, lending to random Kenyans I had never met, of course, and sending them, hundreds of dollars each, and just like seeing what happened. Why did I raise VC money? Because I don't know. That's what I thought you were supposed to do. I'd probably look back. I wouldn't do it that way as much, but raise far too much money, just because that's what I felt you should do when you're starting a company.
Do you think that hurt the company, raising too much?
Yeah, raising too much too soon, because the company didn't really start being a good business until 2001. And this is in 2015. So this is 6 years of losing money again. Yeah.
How did COVID affect you guys?
Yeah, COVID saved us because I laid off everyone, most people.
How big was the shift? From how many people to how many
from
people?
like 70 people to 15 people.
Wow.
And we were super hawkish on COVID. Being hawkish on COVID, but saved us because we were able to lay off all those people, stop losing money. Our payroll is $1 million a month. So just saving that money, breathing deeply, and then asking yourself after that point, like, what is it and actually a good business? Because the board wasn't pressuring us anymore. There was no competitor that we're worried about. Mm-hmm. We thought COVID was devastating. So we had no pressure. So taking the pressure off, having enough burn to last through COVID, and then starting to do careful things and doing things the right way, as if it were my money, not a VC's money, really saved us. And we wouldn't have done that without COVID, because COVID got everyone off the crack of VC money.
Yeah. I find that to be like a very interesting kind of moment in a company's life cycle.
Yeah.
When the sugar high goes away, mm-hmm. and things become real. That's when I think that's when you find out what you're really made of and how real the business was, right?
Yeah.
When all the fanfare is taken away.
Totally.
But it's tell me about the scale of Branch today. Like, what is, in whatever numbers you're comfortable sharing, what is the extent of the work right now?
Yeah. So Branch is a financial services app. We mm-hmm. do investing, and you can make an investment. You can send money to your friends, or you can get a loan. We work in Kenya, Tanzania, Nigeria, and India. Overall, we lend about $3 million a day.
Wow.
To 40,000 people every day. And we're profitable. So our annual profits are like $30 million. And our revenue is almost $200 million. So we really came back from nothing. It really started to happen 2023, 24, 25, and mostly in India. So the reason those numbers are getting big is because we work in India. We randomly launched in India. Thank God that saved us. Because the African markets don't really scale. But that's what I found out.
Wow. That is a huge... how are you so calm? You seem like such a calm guy, but that... just imagining $3 million a day going out to so many people, just that would keep anyone up at night. What's your stress level out of 10 most days now?
Now it's very good.
Yeah.
Very good. It could get bad. About a year ago it was bad. So every once in a while something bad happens. But I am currently in the flow, just loving what I'm doing. Yeah.
When was the last gate?
The big one is about a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you see your work now? Because it almost feels to me like you've spent, what is it? I mean, Kiva was started, you said 2004, 5?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you've spent 20 years in this space, right?
Yeah.
I don't know to what degree you care to even like categorize it, but do you see your work as primarily philanthropic, or do you see it more as, no, I build companies and I try to build companies that help people? Is it more building companies? Is it more philanthropy? And then I'm going to find a way to make that a business. Does that question even make sense?
Yeah, I understand the spectrum of ideas there. I would categorize it as something I feel like is really important, something I think is serious work. It means a lot to people, and it's good. I would definitely get away from any idea that it's like miraculous or changing the world, or I think early on in my career I felt too much into like running along with narratives that were saving people's lives or transformational.
Did you think you bought your own, or you drank your own Kool-Aid at any point?
Yeah, well, I believed it, but it took me years and years of exposure to microfinance, realizing that it is financial services for the poor, and that's good, but it's not changing someone's life necessarily. Like that would be a stretch. That's a little bit of a white man's exaggeration about how we can make an impact in the developing world, and like it's very egotistical to think you're transforming someone's life. And I've just been a lot more modest about it.
Yeah.
I think at first I really felt that. But
I'm always surprised by how many founders, because it almost feels like you need to come up with that narrative, right? To be able to ask people to put in those kind of hours, to be able to ask people to give you their money. You kind of need to first sell yourself on this being world changing and all of that.
yeah,
And I find that people do their best work when that sort of washes away,
yeah,
and you're just sort of left with, no, this is a good business that happens to do some good in the world.
sure.
Is that how you think about it, or is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with what you just said. It's that you got to get away from the big exaggerated narratives of philanthropy, social impact. It's very egotistical. Yet there's good in what you do, and I've seen a lot of my employees, both at a charity and at a for-profit, go through a cycle of having high expectations, getting jaded, going through a trough of despair, and then coming back and like thinking, this is good work. Like this meant a lot to somebody. Somebody at a gas station today in India needed $20, and our app just sent them the $20. They filled up their car with gas and they got home. Like, this is good. Because maybe not transforming their life, and that would be a stretch to think I could do that for someone else.
I have three questions.
Yeah.
To sort of end this thing. The first one I have is, are there stories, and you can rapid fire as many as you want. Are there specific stories through your 20 years of doing this that really stick out to you, that really, maybe when you're having trouble sleeping at night thinking about eternity, they help you sleep a little better, or they just make you feel warm and fuzzy inside? Do you have specific stories like that through these 20 years?
I think, the thing that probably gives me that feeling the most is talking to kids. So also at that time I didn't have kids. I would travel around America. I went through various campaigns around America, but one was speaking at schools and then running these curriculums with third graders, fourth graders, fifth graders, and picturing myself in that context and just loving, like, truly on that kid. And this is, an American kid. But I honestly think, like, exposing them to other cultures, exposing them to philanthropy, exposing them to social impact, and just knowing a lot of them throughout the years I'm still friends with, or having them talk to me and like having them say what an impact that was in their life. I think that is probably the biggest thing that I'm proud of. We had Kiva University, and just going to those conferences around the world, and how much it means to the donors, almost more than the borrowers. Yeah. It's probably the biggest thing.
If you would ask me to do a summary of, I have to pretend to be an unbiased sort of interviewer here.
This is hard.
I have to wear a suit.
This is journalism. Yes.
Yeah, to act like this is journalism. As just a guy in a suit in a room. But dude, I think if I was to give the sort of summary of your career, I feel like you gave a lot of people opportunities, and a lot of people that wouldn't have had those opportunities.
Yeah.
Are there moments in your life where you feel like somebody gave you an opportunity that maybe changed your life? Or if you hadn't gotten that, life would be very different.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. So much. I mean, at every stage. I think as an entrepreneur, I really identify as being a founder. Like, I love founders. I feel like I'm a founder. I feel like I figured out what I want to do in my 20s. And I was just like, yeah, that personality type really fits me. And then so I just love, like, all the other founders that, very rich and famous people that helped me during that time, spent a lot of time with me. truly to help me. That their names will not be mentioned, but just yeah, having so many. The Silicon Valley community is real.
Yes.
And just the community of people that legitimately want to help other founders is amazing. And so I love being that person for, I try to be that person for generations of, founders whenever someone wants to trade notes or whatever. I go around all the world. I still travel all the time to all these places. And so whenever I show up in like Lagos, Nigeria, or, Bangalore, whatever, I'll just tweet or LinkedIn that I'm here. And if you're a founder, you want to hang out, let me know. And I just have these founders, friends from all over the world. Oh, you're starting your healthcare business in Kenya. How's that going? And help them get funding and all that stuff. That's my favorite thing.
That's beautiful. Number one. Number two, to anyone listening that maybe is in that position, I know you hear this all the time about Silicon Valley, but it's hard to really grasp until it happens to you. When I was starting the company, I was 21 years old, and I just went on to Wikipedia, and I looked at every living Berkeley alum that had a Wikipedia page.
It's a lot.
And I emailed all of them.
How did you sort Wikipedia by Berkeley alum?
Oh, I had a lot of time, man. I didn't. I literally went to the Berkeley page, then you get like a notable alumni. Then you go there, and then you go to every page and see who's still alive and who has an end date, right? And so then I emailed every single one.
Still alive
and
is key.
The shocking part was hard to email people who are gone, but the shocking part was how many people responded. Steve Wozniak responded.
Yeah.
These billionaires took me out to lunch.
It's surprising, and a lot of people don't think they would.
Yeah.
If you just write like Craig at Craigslist,
yes,
that guy responds.
Yeah.
Try it right now. Hi, Craig. But yeah, it's amazing how like those Mark at Facebook. I don't know. They often really work. Like I'm Matt at Branch, and like I'll respond to any email you send me really fast. Not that I'm a bigwig like that, but the supportive nature and approachability of even the most famous people in Silicon Valley is disarming.
Yeah. Well, dude, because I think, and this will segue nicely to my last question for you, but I haven't done a lot of the things that you've done, and I've never built anything of the scale that you built with Kiva or with Branch, but I know what that dread feels like, and I know anyone that's ever built anything knows what that dread feels like. They know
you live with dread.
They also know what the purpose and passion feels like of staying up at Happy Donut until 4 a.m. and working, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what, I don't know, I heard Lorne Michaels say this one time he's doing Jerry Seinfeld show, and he said, what you have to remember is that sometimes it takes just as much effort to make a bad movie as it does to make a good movie. And just because the product it doesn't work out or isn't as good, doesn't mean that the person felt any less sincerely about it. Doesn't mean that that they worked any less hard. So much of it is just luck and market dynamics.
Absolutely.
But I want to bring this back to where we started. So as a first grader, you would stay up thinking about eternity, and it would keep you up at night. Do you have things like that now? Do you have stuff that keeps you up at night?
I still have a lot of, I don't know, trauma that I'm getting over that haunts me when I wake up in the morning. I usually feel it, and it takes me a few minutes to many minutes to realize that it's okay. I still feel the fight or flight wake up every day. And so I look forward to the day when I don't wake up tense and depressed. That's very different. I'm not depressed 10 minutes later. But for some reason, right the beginning of the day, it's like I should be worrying about something, and it usually happens overseas. And so the tension of waking up, oh, fuck, what happened while I was sleeping? And then just realizing, like, I don't need to be worried about that anymore. Like, I'm not in that situation. And shaking it off, having coffee is nice.
Dude, I can relate too much to that.
Yeah.
The thing I want to end with is just saying you're far too humble of a guy, and you're far too sort of honest and transparent about your work to take this compliment well. But thank you for, whether or not anybody else believes it and whether or not you believe it, I believe it. Thank you for doing what you've done. I think you've helped a lot of people a lot. I think you've helped entire regions. So thank you for what you've done.
That's very kind of you. Thanks.
Matt Flannery, thanks for being on the podcast, man.
That was fun. It went very fast.
Dude, yeah, we clocked in a full hour and a half.
Wow. Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Dude, dude, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Warm Intro is produced by G1 Moon. Associate producer, Alex Seiko. Audio and video work by Jin Han. Hosted by me, Chai Mishra.